Microsoft have made it abundantly clear that they are looking to absorb as many of their competitors as they possibly can in an effort to reinforce their place in the gaming market. With this in mind, during a recent interview, it was confirmed that Microsoft are looking to create the next great online RPG, something that could rival the international success of Genshin Impact. The term online RPG was used here as opposed to MMORPG, but games like Lost Ark and Blue Protocol are both marketed as online RPGs, even though players generally consider them to be MMOs. Thus, it's impossible to really speculate the full extent of the multiplayer functionality, but we do know that it is going to possess it. It's no secret that Microsoft invests into a lot of companies, gaming companies specifically, but last week it was confirmed that Microsoft was looking to invest into companies that could create for them what Genshin Impact has created for Sony, creating an Xbox exclusive Genshin Impact killer, as it were. Microsoft single-handedly just confirmed the overwhelming impact that Genshin Impact as a singular title has had on the entire gaming industry. They could have merely stated that they were looking for a game that offered X or Y feature, but instead opted to name Genshin specifically. Microsoft themselves directly confirmed that not possessing an answer to Genshin Impact is a threat to their future growth. Microsoft's investments are kind of like how you guys have invested into me as a creator by becoming patrons over on Patreon, which I cannot thank you guys enough for. I appreciate you all much more than I could ever express verbally. Also, if you have a moment, consider following both MRSSSTIX and I over on Twitter. China had quite a notorious reputation when it came to the quality of their video game releases, but recently transitioned from a land mostly comprised of players to a hub of blockbuster developers and titles. According to an interview with Reuters, Microsoft have stressed a sense of urgency to combat the threat that Genshin Impact poses to the gaming industry as a whole. Both Sony and Microsoft have been investing large sums of money into smaller developers to nurture programs and licensed titles. Neither company has seen any real form of success up until this point, but that hasn't stopped them from continuing to try. After all, Genshin Impact, which nobody expected would see the success that it has generated billions of dollars since launching 2 years ago, and has set an entirely new standard when it comes to what defines a cross-platform video game, and even more than that, a multiplayer anime game. The sheer success that this game has had on PC, on mobile, and most importantly, on consoles is something that both Microsoft and Sony actively seek in an effort to increase the number of active subscribers to their Game Pass and to their PlayStation Plus subscription services. Analysts have confirmed that there's been growing Western interest in Chinese games in recent years, with many confirming Chinese games have actually caught up to the quality of AAA budget Western games. Chinese game developers are trying to standardize their development tools, create advanced production processes, invest in really large-scale teams, ultimately that helps provide them with the competitive edge to reach a broad audience, both in terms of geography and platforms, one was quoted as saying. And just take a look at the gacha market right now. 80% of new gacha games come out of China, with 15% coming out of Korea and the other 5% from Japan. China has a monopoly over the entire gacha market, and Genshin is partly to thank for that. Microsoft has filled its roster with a surplus of large-scale, big brand titles over the years, but recently they built a team specifically to scout out Chinese games, providing extensive funding to even independent studios that show promise, regardless of size or history. In an active effort to maximize earnings and also take advantage of the success of Genshin Impact, Microsoft confirmed the expansion of their subscription service to both PC and mobile devices. This will appeal to a much larger number of players and companies, specifically Hoyo, who have developed somewhat of a reputation for cross-platform compatible games. Genshin, Honkai, even Zenless Zone Zero and Star Rail, Wuthering Waves and Arknight's Enfield, incredible looking Chinese gacha games that have confirmed cross-platform releases. Ark Survival Evolved from studio Wildcard revealed that Microsoft actually paid them $2.5 million to feature their game on the Game Pass and $2.3 million for its sequel, Ark 2. For reference, Studio Wildcard is owned by Chinese Snail Games. To further illustrate this point, Recreate Games in Shanghai confirmed that their company signed a deal last year for their title Party Animals to launch exclusively on Xbox. They did not confirm how much they were being paid, however. Evidently, I'm in the wrong industry and the wrong country. Microsoft is severely behind Sony, as back in 2017, Sony launched a gaming initiative that they titled the China Hero Project, aimed at aiding Chinese developers publish games on the PlayStation platform, 17 of which have successfully launched since. One such title was Genshin Impact. Back in 2019, Hoyo, who was admittedly a much smaller studio at the time, partnered with Sony to release the game as a PlayStation exclusive. This deal went on to largely benefit both companies, as Genshin Impact went on to become one of the largest hits of the decade. Two people, one of which is part of Microsoft's team to scout out new Chinese studios, confirmed Microsoft were also in talks with Hoyo to release Genshin Impact on Xbox, but they didn't successfully reach a deal. It is unconfirmed why the deal fell through. Maybe Microsoft didn't see the potential that Sony saw. Maybe Hoyo requested too much for an exclusive platform license. Regardless, the same people also confirmed that Microsoft regrets missing this opportunity and have learned from their mistakes. A mistake that cost them potentially billions. For decades, Chinese players imported the majority of their games into the country, as Chinese games were largely considered to be of very poor quality with no production value. Even Tencent, who is a monolith towering above technology companies, began publishing foreign games within China. Fast forward to present day, China is the world's largest market for video games, with many Western companies investing into Chinese studios, as ActiBliz proved with Diablo Immortal and even Ubisoft more recently. There were regulatory restrictions imposed upon development and even length of playtime, but that has not inhibited China. On the contrary, more games are slated to release in the coming years than ever before. Many companies and even gaming executives use Genshin Impact as a reference, a global industry milestone. Apple, as an example, demonstrated the power of their new iPad by showcasing the seamless cross-platform support, quality, and gameplay of Genshin Impact. Another milestone was Naraka Bladepoint from NetEase, Tencent's only real direct competitor. Naraka went on to sell tens of millions of copies and opted to enter a deal with Microsoft as opposed to Sony to release the game as a Microsoft Game Pass exclusive back in June. Genshin Impact has become somewhat of a standard for cross-platform gaming, and through their deal with Sony has left Microsoft playing catch-up with no success. Thus far, anyway. Microsoft believes Genshin's continued success and growth are going to be damaging for it as a company and as a competitor to Sony, and have hopes that they can secure exclusive deals with upcoming games that possess the unique potential to compete directly with or to even surpass Genshin Impact. Very big shoes to fill for any budding new studio, and honestly, the only game on the immediate horizon with any chance at all of that is Wuthering Waves. So if I were to speculate, I would expect both Microsoft and Sony to enter bids for Wuthering Waves and Arknight's Enfield, maybe other potentially successful games like the Seven Deadly Sins Origin. 2023 is going to be an interesting year for video games. Until then though, try one of these two games on screen right now. One is a brand new indie MMO that admittedly turned out better than expected. The other, an interesting looking upcoming gacha game, hopefully launching sometime next year in 2023.